You ever have one of those days where things are going good, you've got everything planned out, and you're really on top of your game, and then you're not? So that happened to me a couple of weeks ago. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you might know what I'm talking about. But today I'm going to address what went wrong that day and try to fix it. Well, you've seen my old truck on previous videos, and although it's an old truck, it needs some work, but it has been a good truck. It very seldom lets me down. In fact, almost never. But the other day it did. And today I'm going to fix what was wrong with it, and we're going to get this old girl going, and hopefully she does me for several more years. So a couple of weeks ago, I had everything on track, ready to go. I had my truck and trailer backed into position. I was going to take a load of lambs off. That next morning, I got the lambs all sorted out. I got them loaded on the trailer nice and early. Everything was going good, and then the truck wouldn't start. If you saw that video, you know how that turned out. If you haven't seen it, I'll try to put a link to it and you can go back and watch it. Now, as I investigated why this truck wouldn't start, it turns out to be the starter. And actually, it's not even the starter itself, or not even really the solenoid. What happened, if you can see, get it in the light, the cable burned off going to the solenoid. That lug burnt in two. And in trying to get this apart, the whole thing twisted off. And now I can't get that apart to put a new cable on it, which I think it would work if I could. But instead, I ended up I went and bought a new starter. Now my intention was put the new starter on, crimp a new end on the cable, put it on, and I'd be good, ready to go. Well, that didn't work either. The cable was too short once I cut the end off of it. So I came up with a plan B. Plan B was an extension cable. I could butt splice this onto the old cable, make it long enough, and that would work. Except it didn't. Well, that didn't exactly work out either, because being under the truck, I couldn't hardly get my big cable cutters. These things are long. I couldn't get my big crimpers under there to crimp it very well. It just didn't work out. Now, if this camera will focus, you can see where I tried to crimp a new piece onto here, and this just didn't work. I couldn't get my crimpers in here like I needed to. I'm not sure if this solenoid wire is tied onto this somewhere, and it's going to be a problem pulling this through there. If so, I'll cut the end of this off, and I'll just have to pull a new solenoid wire along with this. I hope I don't, because I'm not 100% sure where the other end of this wire is at. So I'm probably, let's see, if I can find somewhere to tie this one off so I don't pull it through, that would be great. I might just zip tie it on here or something. That'd probably be the best. So now we're on to plan C. Plan C is I got all new cable. This is a 2-aught welding cable. It's the same size wire that was on there before. I've got ends to crimp on this cable, and I've got these. Let me show you why I need these. Now on this truck, being a diesel truck, I've got two batteries. There's one over there, and I've got one here. This is the main cable. This one comes from the other battery. It goes through this big chunk of lead and then out the back and down to the starter. They don't make this cable anymore. I can't get it. I have found some aftermarket things to replace this whole battery cable system, but it's about $400, and I don't need it all. So by getting my own pieces together, I think I'm going to be able to fix this for about $150. And that's where these come in. My plan is to replace this big chunk of lead with this. I can put this on the battery. It's got big openings in it that will take my 2/0 wire to go down, and I can simply cut this cable off, strip it back, put it under one side of this. My new cable that I'm going to have to run can then go in the other side of this. So the plan is crimp a new end on this cable. I'm going to tie the other end of this cable to the old cable, see if I can use it as a pull rope to pull this cable up through there where it needs to go. I hope that will work well. Crimping this new end on, these ends will not fit in my old crimper. They're just a size too big. Which brings me to this. Now, is this going to work or not? I don't know. We're going to find out. This is a new crimping tool. It's a hydraulic crimper that will take the place of my old yellow manual crimpers. This one has dies in it that will go bigger than what I had. I got this off of Amazon. I'm thinking it was like $85 or $90, which seems like a lot to spend on a tool that I might just use once. But I'm saving so much on the rest of it, I can justify spending this. And I don't think you're ever wrong to spend money on tools. And yes, it has dies that go up to a 2/0 cable, which is what I'm going to need to crimp. Now, if this works out the way that I hope it will, I'm going to put a link in the description so you'll know which one I got and how it works. So this will sort of be a review on this tool, but more than a review, it's just going to be me using it. See how far we need to cut this back. Get all my straight wires in there. I think this thing actually goes down to 12 gauge wire. So you can crimp anything from a 12 to a 2/0. Well, let's see how this works. I like the spring handle to bring it back up. No, the die is closed. The dies are closed. Well, that worked. That's on there pretty solid. This is 2/0 cable. I first crimped it with the 2/0 dies and then had to go to the 1/0 dies to crimp it down the rest of the way. It's like these dies don't close quite enough. When the two halves of the die come together and you're not crimped enough. Grind some off of each side of this so they would come together closer, and that would work better. Well, I'll put a link in there for this because it will work, just not quite as good as I had hoped. I think with a little modification of these dies, it'd work really well. Now, I did put some dielectric grease around that to help seal that connection, since this is going to be under the truck. And now let's put some heat shrink on it to help seal it even better. That ought to be as good as any factory cable you'd buy. Now the next step is to connect this end of the cable under the truck to the old battery cable and use the old battery cable to pull this up through there until I get to where I need to fasten this to the starter. But trying to tie two big bulky cables like this together, it's going to make a knot that's going to be hard to pull up through there, I believe. So what I'm going to do is tie this small green wire to the old one, pull it through, then I'll use this wire to pull the new one in. It just won't be so bulky. I did not count on that thing being in there. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do about it. This is what holds that cable in place down there near the frame. Yeah, see what I can come up with. Well, I forgot to turn the camera on while I did this part. All I did on this, I ended up taking my pocket knife and I slit down that rubber sleeve that was on there, and I was able to kind of pry that off of the old cable, open it up enough I could get it on the new cable and put it back in position so that bracket could hold that cable where it needed to be, down close to the engine block. Well, with a little more work than I was hoping it would be, I finally got it on there. We've got the main battery cable coming in here, the auxiliary cable in here, the cable from the other battery comes in here. Everything's locked down good. It's all good and tight. I did crimp ends on all these cables, just like a ring. I crimped it and then I cut off what I didn't need so that I could get it in there and it would make a good connection. So now the moment of truth. See if it works. Now as far as this crimper goes, I said I wouldn't put a link down there unless it actually worked. Well, it does actually work. It's not 100%, but it does work. I have found, at least for now, when I'm trying to do the 2/0 cable, if I will use the dies for 1/0, that seems to work pretty good. I think you could face these dies off if there's a problem. I think you could face those off and get it to crimp really well. It's much better and much easier than my old hand crimpers. And for the money, yeah, if you need to crimp some wires, I would recommend it, especially if you need to crimp big wire. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. And I'm going to leave links below for that crimper, the lugs that I crimped on the end, the battery terminal ends that I got. I really like those. I think they'll work well, not just for this, but for other things where maybe you need more than one cable hooked to your battery. And I think they were like $35 or something for a positive and a negative. I didn't feel like that was too bad. They seem pretty well built. So check out those links below. I'm gonna go drive my truck. See you on the next video.